Hi, welcome back to our Honors Geometry series. On this video, we'll talk about how to find 2 points that are a specific distance from a given coordinate. So here we're given 2 points on the x-axis that are 10 units from 1, 8. So let's first make our, let's zoom out, let's make our origin. So we'll figure out where the origin is. I'm going to go and make my point 1, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I want 2 points on the x-axis that are 10 units away from 1, 8. Well, what does that mean? That means that if I were to do my Pythagorean theorem, or my distance formula, which is really just the Pythagorean theorem written a different way, I want this distance formula, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, I want that to equal 10. But there's something else, there's a constraint here that I need to be careful about. I want it on the x-axis. Well, if it's on the x-axis, what do I know about all of the coordinates here on my x-axis? What doesn't change on the x-axis? Well, no matter where I go, my y value is going to stay 0. So I don't know what the x value will be, but I know that this is going to be 0. And I want that to be 10 units away from 1, 8. Okay. Now, let's take a minute and think about how I can set this up. I want to get the x by itself. I could also write this, if I really wanted to, I could write this as x minus 1 and 0 minus 8, right? It's the same thing. But I want to get my x by itself, but it's kind of locked in here to this parentheses and into that square root. So let's do the first thing we can do. Let's get rid of that square root. So I'm going to square both sides, x minus 1 squared plus negative 8 squared equals 100 if I square both sides. And now I can take this x minus 1 squared and I can ask myself, what does that mean? Well, that means x minus 1 times x minus 1. And all I'm doing is simplifying here. I could also leave that as x minus 1 squared. Right? Either way, it doesn't really matter. Now, I've got this variable term that I still need to get by itself. So what's over here with my variable term that I need to get rid of to get the x minus 1 squared by itself? I should get rid of that 64. And now I see x minus 1 squared equals 36. And here's where I'd like to stop. So let's just stop for a minute. First thing I did, I just substituted in my known x and y from the given point that I want to be 10 units away from. I substituted in an x. Well, I guess I didn't really substitute, but it's there in the formula. And I know that no matter what, if it's on the x-axis, like it's supposed to be, then I know that my y-coordinate must be 0. And I simplified a little bit, right? I squared both sides. And then I simplified what I could there. And then I subtracted 64. Now this is where my two answers come in. Because when I take the square root of both sides here, the square and the square root on the left side are going to undo each other. They're opposite operations, so I end up with x minus 1. But here's the big key idea. It says 2 points, right? Well, when I take the square root of 36, there should be two numbers that are the square root of 36. So what numbers, or what number times itself gets you 36? Well, it could be positive 6, but don't forget that x minus 1, if I take the square root of 36, it could also be equal to negative 6. And now I've got two equations. So now I've got x minus 1 equals negative 6, x minus 1 equals positive 6. So x could be equal to negative 5, or x could be equal to 7. And that's a lot of work, but let's check now just to make sure. If I put a dot at 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 comma 0, or negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 comma 0, let's see, what are my side lengths of that triangle? I get 8 there, and I get 6 there. I get 8 here, I get 6 on this direction. And if I were to do my Pythagorean theorem, I would get 10 and 10. Right, so notice how these right triangles ended up being 6, 8, 10. 36 plus 64 equals 100. So you can always go back and check your work. Please let me know what questions you have on this or on any other problem, and I will see you in class.